A struggling single mother fights to save her family farm from a notorious gang of outlaws. Unbeknownst to them, she's not just an overworked farmer. She's a former Green Beret sniper, trained to protect what matters most. As the stakes rise, the outlaws soon realize their deadly mistake. Before we dive into this gripping tale, don't forget to subscribe for more exciting stories. Now let's get started. Eleanor Carter's story was a legend long before her name was whispered in Fox Hollow, Montana. A former Delta Force sniper with over 2,100 confirmed kills, Eleanor had spent years honing her skills across 3 continents. After leaving the military, she hoped to trade her rifle for a plow, seeking peace as a single mother raising her children on a struggling family farm. Fox Hollow, nestled beneath the towering peaks of Eagle Ridge, appeared to be the perfect place for a fresh start. The town was picturesque, with friendly neighbors and quiet streets, a far cry from the war zones Eleanor had once navigated. To the outside world, Eleanor was just another overworked farmer, desperately trying to save her family's land. But the locals had no idea that beneath her calm exterior lay a woman of immense strength, precision, and intelligence. Eleanor wasn't just a farmer. She was a highly trained soldier, and her training had never left her. Little did she know, her peaceful life was about to be shattered by the arrival of the Shadowfangs, a notorious motorcycle gang that had their sights set on her farm. The quiet life she longed for was about to be replaced with a fight for survival. It was a crisp morning when Eleanor's 14-year-old daughter, Rose, burst into the kitchen with alarming news. She had just heard from Mrs. Blake, their neighbor, that a group of bikers had been in town asking questions about the farm. They wanted to know who owned it, if there were any back taxes owed, and other private details. Rose's voice trembled as she relayed the message, mentioning that the bikers seemed organized, wearing patches that suggested they weren't just ordinary riders. Eleanor's sharp instincts immediately went into action. She gave Rose and her younger brother Sam tasks to complete before she headed into town to investigate further. As she entered Wilson's Feed and Supply, she found James Harper, the store owner, looking unusually grim. He confirmed that the ID Shadowfangs had been making their way through nearby towns, forcing struggling farmers and business owners to sell their property in exchange for protection. Eleanor's stomach sank. The bikers were targeting the vulnerable and her family. Farm was on their radar. Before she could formulate a plan, her elderly neighbor Martha rushed in with urgent news. Shadowfang's bikers were circling the area, an unmistakable sign that the threat had already begun to escalate. Eleanor knew this wouldn't end with a few questions. The bikers were already marking their territory. That evening, after receiving disturbing news from both Rose and Sam about strange vehicles and unusual animal behavior, Eleanor became more convinced that the bikers weren't just a passing threat. Rose had noticed unfamiliar cars parked along the back roads, and Sam's Australian Shepherd Max was acting restless, just like he had when predators had stalked the farm's sheep. Eleanor's mind raced as she walked the perimeter of the farm. She observed boot prints near the barn and signs that someone had been watching them. The bikers had been surveying the property, mapping out their next move. As she walked the land, she felt a familiar feeling rise in her, one she hadn't felt since her time as a sniper. She wasn't just the farmer now, she was the protector of her family. Returning to the barn, Eleanor opened a hidden compartment behind a false wall. There, she found her old Delta Force gear, a modified M486 sniper rifle, tactical ammunition, and other equipment she hadn't used in years. For a moment, Eleanor prayed she would never have to use it. But deep down, she knew the Shadowfangs wouldn't back down. The first move was now hers to make. The Shadowfangs didn't waste time. The next day, their leader, a tall, scarred man named Reaper, appeared at Eleanor's farm with a group of bikers. His cold smile and threatening demeanor made it clear they weren't just passing through. Reaper stepped off his motorcycle, surveying the land with interest before focusing his attention on Eleanor. "Nice place you got here, lady," Reaper sneered. "Shame if something were to happen to it." Eleanor stood tall, her posture relaxed, but defensive. She wasn't intimidated by his words. She had faced far greater threats in her life. "Private property. Best move along," she replied, her voice steady and unyielding. Reaper's grin widened as if testing her resolve. "Times are hard. Banks get impatient. Accidents happen. We can help for a reasonable fee." Eleanor didn't flinch. "I'm not interested," she said, her voice firm. Reaper's smile faded, but he didn't push further. Instead, he turned and signaled his men to mount their bikes. As they revved their engines and roared away, Eleanor's thoughts raced. She knew this wasn't over. Reaper had underestimated her, but that mistake would cost him. The bikers didn't give up. Over the next week, their tactics became more aggressive. Eleanor noticed their motorcycles prowling the roads, often parked just out of sight, watching her every move. One night, a Molotov cocktail landed in her wheat field, igniting a small blaze that Eleanor quickly extinguished. But the damage had been done. This was no longer just a matter of intimidation. It was war. Rose, ever the vigilant daughter, urged Eleanor to call the sheriff, but Eleanor knew the law wouldn't be enough. Sheriff Greg Lawson, though well-meaning, couldn't act on the bikers' threats without evidence. He assured Eleanor that he would increase patrols, but she knew the bikers were too careful to leave anything for the authorities to act on. Eleanor had no choice but to prepare for a fight on her terms. That night, she cleaned her legal shotgun. On the porch, her mind focused and sharp. She had learned long ago that the only way to survive in a world full of threats was to fight back. And she would protect her family at all costs. Eleanor spent the next few days preparing for what was to come. She knew the bikers wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted. The first wave of their assault was imminent, and Eleanor had to be ready. Her military training kicked in as she turned the farm into a fortified stronghold, setting up defensive positions around the property. She woke Rose and Sam early, sending them through a hidden path to the neighbor's house, just in case things got violent. As the first motorcycle engines rumbled in the distance, Eleanor took her position in the hills, sniper rifle in hand. When the bikers finally breached the farm's gates, Eleanor took the first shot, aiming for the dirt just in front of their tires. The warning was clear. She wasn't going down without a fight. The bikers scattered in confusion, but Eleanor's training gave her the edge. One by one, she picked off their bikes, disabling them with precision. Reaper's voice echoed across the chaos. "This isn't over, Carter. We'll burn your farm to the ground." Eleanor's voice remained calm as she replied, "Next time, bring more than motorcycles, and remember you started this." The Shadowfangs may have underestimated Eleanor, but the town of Fox Hollow was quick to rally around her. Tom, a local veteran with a prosthetic leg, offered his tactical support. He knew the land well and had experience with guerrilla warfare. Dr. Kate, the town's veterinarian, used her vast network to gather intelligence on the bikers' movements. Sheriff Lawson, despite his limitations, quietly funneled information to Eleanor, helping her skirt the bureaucratic roadblocks. Together, they started preparing for the next phase. Eleanor's tactics, honed in combat, began to take effect. The Shadowfangs were no longer the predators. They were the prey. Ambushes, misdirection, and precise strikes were dismantling the gang's operations piece by piece. One by one, the bikers found their plans unraveled by the very town they thought they could intimidate. The town of Fox Hollow was no longer the target. It was the force that would push back. The final confrontation came in the dead of night, when Reaper and his gang launched a full-scale assault on the farm. But Eleanor was prepared. She had spent days calculating the bikers' every move, and now it was time to execute her plan. Using her sniper rifle, she systematically took down key targets, disabling their heavy weapons and causing chaos among their ranks. Reaper, desperate, tried to rally his men, but his gang was falling apart. The bikers were scattered, disoriented, and overwhelmed. By the time dawn broke, the Shadowfangs had been decimated, their numbers thinned and their spirit broken. Reaper's final words as he fled were filled with fury. "You've made enemies, Carter. This isn't over." Eleanor's reply was cold and unyielding. "It is for you." The fight for Fox Hollow was over. The town had won, but Eleanor knew this was only a temporary victory. She'd proven one thing: no one could take what mattered most to her. The strength of a community united was stronger than any threat. As the dust settles and Fox Hollow begins to rebuild, Eleanor Carter stands as a testament to strength and resilience. Her unwavering determination, sharp instincts, and love for her family turned the tide against the Shadowfangs and proved that sometimes the most unlikely heroes emerge when their loved ones are threatened. Her battle wasn't just for survival, but for the community she believed in, reminding us all that real strength comes from protecting what matters most. If you enjoyed this thrilling story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales. Stay tuned for our next adventure.